Yeah, so you're really deep into this
Yeah.
story. So, well, I mean, okay, so I'm looking at the album artwork next to you. Like, who is that? Because that's very clear. That's not Andy. That's not
Right.
so is this like a character in this story?
Yeah, and you know what's funny is only recently did I start referring to these characters as alter egos because in my mind, up until recently, I sort of differentiated who like my main alter ego is with the rest of my characters using those two labels. I would refer to this who's on this album cover is Lilith, who is one of my characters, or you could call her an alter ego because I mean I can definitely see her as both. But I have a bunch of characters that exist, you know, just in this world that I've created that and have been in my mind, so in existence in the process since my last album, but maybe haven't been like so obvious to, you know, anyone really. um, but yeah, so I have Lilith, I have Lucy, I have Dorian Platinum, and then I have me. And for me, there's sort of a differentiation between Andrew Rudy, the person, and Andrew Rudy, the character in the story. Because in the scope of this story, Andrew Rudy has died and is in the Inferno. And so that is the whole exploration of the world, sort of as my own self-inserted character in the story. But then you have Dorian Platinum, who is, I consider my main alter ego. He's really one of the aspects of this album that I was really excited about bringing into the light and actually introducing to the world. That's why I have a whole song called Dorian Platinum. He sort of encapsulates the whole pinnacle of the story in my head. So in my head, the album is sort of before Dorian, meeting Dorian, and then after meeting Dorian, which is ultimately escaping the Inferno. But then you have Lilith and Lucy, who are kind of like the two head honchos of the Inferno. Lucy stands for Lucifer, so of course he's like the devil, but funnily enough, in my world and sort of in my preference, Lilith takes more of the driver's seat just because I think her character is a lot more fun for me to play around with. I've sort of described her as she does Lucy's dirty work. I have obviously taken inspiration from the biblical Lilith, who is like, I might be wrong in this, and there are so many iterations, but she's sort of like Lucifer's like lover. She was like the first woman before Eve. That also might be controversial to say, but like, you know, she was sort of like created and then like seduced by Lucifer and then taken to hell, and to a lot of people is considered like the mother of demons, and sort of a succubus in her own right. And so in my story, she does Lucy's dirty work. So Lucy wants something done, Lilith gets it done. That's sort of how the hierarchy goes. And that's why I think I like her, because she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. So one of the demons that Lilith created is Dorian Platinum. So she's sort of like his mom in a certain way. And another reason why I really like her is because you can see a lot of connections between Dorian Platinum and Lilith. Dorian is very sassy, just like his creator, Lilith. She's sort of, the idea of these characters is that they have existed long before Andrew Rudy even came into the picture. Since they're supposed to be based in the Inferno, you know, they're supposed to have been prevalent for centuries, and this is just our first glimpse into what a run-in with this world looks like through Andrew. So in my head, as I've sort of developed Dorian, Lilith created Dorian Platinum as this demon who over centuries, over, you know, the existence of humans, has preyed upon humans that have wanted power and fame. And in doing that, he feeds off of it. So Dorian needs the power, Dorian needs the fame, and Dorian needs the attention ultimately. And so he's kind of like a parasite in that. So what he does is he approaches whoever he sees as weak-minded, but has that desire, and he promises them that if they allow him to, he can give them everything they wanted, which is really what he wants too, because he needs it to live. And so he possesses them, and kind of like any parasitical relationship, he kills them in doing that. Like a parasite, he takes up everything, including their own life force. He feeds off of the fame, he feeds off of the power, and they die. And he goes to his next prey. So in the realm of our story, Dorian has preyed upon Andrew. But the weird thing, and this is what connects the previous album to this album, is that in the last album it ends with the song Devil's Contract. And in the music video, you can see Andrew, the character, dies at the end. But he's not famous. He doesn't have any of the things that Dorian offered him. So it's sort of like this uncompleted bargain. So Dorian, basically, Andrew dies and goes into the Inferno, and that's sort of how the transaction works. He sort of brings in the souls, and that the souls are sort of the currency that Lucy and Lilith live off of. Their whole business is the business of damning souls. So that should have been checked and done with when Dorian took care of Andrew. They don't really care that Andrew never got the power of the fame. He just happened to have had, his life drained before Dorian could do that. But Dorian was sort of unsatisfied by it because he never got his nutrients, from the power, from the fame, from all that. So in this story, we can see Andrew's going through the Inferno, and Dorian is his ticket out of the Inferno. Basically, Dorian took a liking to Andrew, like as a host. So he strays from the role that Lucy and Lilith have for him, which is another example of what I think is him kind of showing traits of his mother, Lilith, in that he's very rebellious. And he is sort of, in the grand scheme of things, like a rebellious teenager compared to Lucy and Lilith, because he's a lot younger than they are, even though they've all been existing for so long, he's been existing for less time. So he sees Andrew as sort of a ticket out of the Inferno to host, like to be possessing Andrew one more time and to go back into the land of the living and like basically be like, let's do this for real. Like I will, I'll get you rich and famous and all that stuff, and I won't kill you. And, just allow me to sort of co-inhabit you. And Andrew agrees. And so that's sort of the story of the album, is ultimately Dorian possessing Andrew and promising him a way out and getting him that way out. And what comes next is the next project. But yeah, those are sort of all of the characters are just different ways to express myself and to express different ideas in the songs. And I do kind of consider them now to be alter egos and characters, because I think it's really fun to write from the point of view of Dorian and Lilith and Lucy and Andrew. And yeah, so that's just sort of a brief kind of explanation into who they are and what their roles are in this world. Yeah.